The people of Elbaf have believed in a single truth for many years. The truth about Elbaf's fallen king and the fact that Loki, the god of mischief, murdered his own father, King Harald. A betrayal so great that it led to Loki's downfall and imprisonment. But what if this truth was a lie? What if the real murderer still walks free? When you look at the story of King Harald's murder, there are a lot of cracks in it. Contradictions that don't add up. How could a man who defied the Holy Knights, who endured torture rather than betray his people, be the same man who struck down his own father? And what if this crime was never about Elbaf at all, but about something much greater? If Loki didn't kill King Harald, then who did? And more importantly, why? Now, before I get started, if you want to see future One Piece content like this on the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below to support the channel. And now, I don't really feel like wasting your time any further, so let's get started. Loki's reputation is one of betrayal. He was the Prince of Elbaf, heir to the throne of one of the most powerful kingdoms in the world. But according to history, he committed the ultimate crime, killing his king, let alone his own father, King Harald. This act was seen as a disgrace, leading to his imprisonment and exile from his own people. Yet, despite the weight of this accusation, something about the story has never quite added up. King Harald was loved by his people. He was a ruler of peace, of a very violent and brutal culture who would seek trade with other nations rather than war. His sudden murder and the swift condemnation of Loki raise more questions than they answer. If Loki truly was the murderer, what was his motive? Why would he kill his father who ruled with kindness and vision? A father who would seek to build bridges rather than burn them. The narrative we've been told is too simple, too convenient. A single act of betrayal that instantly erased everything Loki once was. But the world isn't that black and white. What if Loki was never the villain in this story? What if the plan from who actually struck the blow was for Loki to purposely take the fall and frame him for a crime he did not commit? And more importantly, who stood to gain from Harald's death? Who truly benefited from turning Loki into the villain history remembers him as? Loki once called Shanks a coward. Could it be because Shamrock, who Loki thought was Shanks, was the real killer of Harald? Well, Loki only just found out that Shanks has an identical twin brother. If Shamrock was working under orders from the world government, his role in framing Loki becomes even more deceptive. The idea that Shamrock manipulated the events to shift blame onto Loki gains even more weight when considering that right after Loki tells Mosa that letting someone escape ensures their return for revenge, Oda then immediately cuts to the castle in Elbaf, showing Shamrock's arrival. This isn't just a coincidence, it's a deliberate narrative choice that suggests Shamrock's arrival marks a turning point in the conspiracy. If Shamrock was the true killer, then Loki's fall was never about justice. It was about eliminating an heir who could challenge the true powers at play. It was about silencing someone who could one day expose the real truth behind King Harald's murder. With Loki out of the picture, Elbaf remained leaderless, directionless, and under somewhat control. Perhaps the exact outcome the world government wanted all along. And despite his infamous reputation, Loki is not the monster he is made out to be. Beneath his outward demeanor lies a man who, even under extreme torture, refused to betray his people. When the Holy Knights offered him freedom in exchange for his loyalty, he rejected them. And that kind of honor does not belong to a man who would kill his own king for power. In fact, his actions reflect a deep sense of duty and loyalty to his people, willing to suffer such pain rather than let Elbaf fall under the control of outside forces. Even more telling, animals, beings with pure instincts, remain loyal to Loki. The same creatures that trusted Luffy and protected him have always been by Loki's side. If Loki were truly evil, would they still follow him? Would they fight for him? These animals are drawn to kindness, and their unwavering support for Loki is a testament to the man he truly is. Even Mosa acknowledges that beneath Loki's rough exterior lies a good heart. We have seen him endure pain and suffering, yet still refuse to betray his ideals. If even those who have every reason to hate him can sense his true nature, perhaps it's time to reconsider the story we've been told. And the most significant piece of evidence to his innocence is that Luffy trusts Loki and wants to free him. Luffy's intuition is rarely wrong. He chose to trust Loki immediately, sensing something that others overlooked. Rather than accepting help from the Holy Knights, Loki chose to wait for Luffy to return, a decision that speaks to the very core of who he is. Loki knows that his battle isn't a personal one, but a conflict tied to a much greater fate, one that extends beyond Elbaf and its hidden story. His refusal to take the easy way out reinforces his unwavering resolve, his willingness to endure suffering rather rather than let Elbaf's future be dictated by outside forces. It's a testament to the depths of perspective, a silent but powerful declaration that he will not be a pawn in someone else's game. And if Loki's heart remains untainted despite everything he has suffered, then what does that say about the ones who accuse him? The true villains of this story may not be the ones we were led to believe. If Loki was framed, the real question becomes who benefited from Harald's death. The answer leads us directly to the world government. King Harald was not just a ruler, he was a visionary, a leader who defied the expectations placed upon him by Elbaf's warrior culture. He sought peace, trade, and knowledge, and the establishment of the Walrus Folk School to nurture the minds of the next generation was done in his honor. But his ideals went beyond simple diplomacy. Harald was not merely interested in just cooperation. He was trying to turn Elbaf into something greater, something that directly threatened the world government. The true reason the world government feared him was not just his progressive vision, but what he protected, a legendary devil fruit said to be safeguarded by Elbaf. If Harald had knowledge of its power, if he understood what it can mean for the future of the world, then his murder was not a random act of betrayal. It was an orchestrated move to eliminate a growing threat before it could challenge the status quo. 14 years ago, 2 years before Luffy ate the Nika devil fruit, the world government sent someone to kill King Harald. This raises another question. What legendary devil fruit was guarded by Elbaf? We know that Shanks stole the fruit that Luffy ate from the agents of Cypherpole, but it was never stated where they got that fruit from, or where in the world Shanks apprehended them even. Or it could be the fruit that Loki ate. We know that he ate a devil fruit in Harald's possession when Harald was killed, and he also claims to be Nika. The Arc of Elbaf also explained more of the lore regarding Nika the Sun God, and how there are different interpretations of him similarly to the Harley texts. And it could be that the powers of Nika could be something that is also interpreted differently, which would still end up leading to the world government's investigation of Elbaf due to suspicion of the giants having possession of the Nika fruit. Because no matter how you interpret Nika the Sun God, he is a warrior of legend whose meaning goes against everything the world government stands for. The world government has spent centuries trying to erase the truth about Nika and also hold possession of the fruit that grants someone his powers. And the world government definitely feared the fruit possibly being on Elbaf. Regardless of who Harald was, if he knew the fruit's true nature, that would be a serious threat to the world government if he planned to use it to challenge the balance of power, which means then that his death was not an act of betrayal from one of his own. It was a calculated move by the world government to ensure that Elbaf never became a beacon of rebellion that many slaves wait for. And this brings us back to Loki. If he witnessed everything that day and chose to take the blame, it would mean he has been carrying the burden of protecting Elbaf from a war it wasn't ready to fight. By accepting his imprisonment, he may have been honoring his father's ideals, preventing his people from blindly waging war against the world government. But now, as the tides shift and the world enters a new era of chaos, the truth is bubbling to the surface. And now, with the current state of the world's balance of power, the world government intended to send Shamrock back to Elbaf, likely to tie up loose ends and ensure that their carefully planned deception remains intact. This move suggests a deeper level of intent, one that may even stretch back years before Harald's death. If Shamrock was the one who spoke to the five elders instead of his brother, then it would also make perfect sense as to why the Holy Knights are now taking action. They aren't responding to Luffy's presence, they're making sure the truth about Harald's murder never sees the light of day, which is why Shamrock was so concerned about Loki, that certain pirate. And the fact that Saturn did not chase after the Straw Hats when they escaped Egghead Island could support this. He knew the giants of Elbaf had come to their rescue, and it was very clear as well that Elbaf was where they were going based on the geography alone that we see from the different paths Luffy, Law, and Kid all took from Wano, which is why Saturn wasn't really bothered of the Straw Hats' escape, because he knew that the necessary steps to take ahead of this had already been set in motion. Shamrock's return maybe was not just about eliminating threats, it could also be about controlling the narrative before the island learns the truth about Loki's fall from grace, and more importantly, the true forces manipulating Elbaf's fate from the shadows. If Loki truly seeks to bring about the end of the world, could he actually be referring to the destruction specifically of Marijua rather than the world itself? This would mirror the events in Norse mythology where Loki joins the giants in a war against the gods during the events of Ragnarok, which this story is clearly reflecting. But in One Piece, this war isn't just about revenge, it's about liberation. The destruction of Marijua would symbolize the fall of the oppressive system that has held the world in chains for centuries. Loki's role in this battle is far more complex than that of a mere antagonist. If he has spent years imprisoned, silently biding his time, then his endgame is not simply destruction, it is justice. His battle is not only against those who framed him, but against the very foundation of a world built on lies, which would make this war inevitable. As Norse mythology foretold Ragnarok as an ultimate clash between gods and giants, which could be Oda's way of setting the stage for Elbaf to rise against the celestial dragons. The truth about Loki, about Elbaf, and about the forces that have shaped this world is about to be revealed. But one thing that I am certain of is that Loki's story is far from over, and when the truth comes to light, the world will finally see who the real villain of Elbaf's tragedy is. Not Loki, but the world government, who orchestrated this war from the shadows, who fear at the thought of the giants finally rising. The celestial dragons perched atop their so-called Holy Land have long feared the day when Elbaf would turn its gaze towards them, and now that day will finally be coming closer than ever.